Hey everybody, Jane here, and today I want to talk to you about Lauren's Barbarian versus Rajal's Resonance. These are both the first book in the series of spin-offs to the Ice Planet Barbarian series. I've read things out of order because of course I did. I'm chaotic like that, so let's talk about it.
Pictures and patterns put into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soul spoken.
Alright guys, so long story short, I was binging through the Ice Planet Barbarians books. And then I got to the place where my library had like a 6-7 week wait on the next book, because of course it did. I was waiting on Maddie's book, so it's in now. I'm gonna read it. I'm excited about it. But while I was waiting, I was like, I just need my Barbarian fix from somewhere else. So I decided that I was deep enough in the Ice Planet Barbarian world that I felt like I could probably read Ice Planet Home or Ice Home and Ice Planet clones without being too confused. And for the most part, I was right. So my library had ready to read both Lauren's Barbarian, which is book 1 in the Ice Planet Home, and Rajal's Resonance, which was book 1 in the Ice Planet Clones. Ice Planet Clones does come well after Ice Planet Home, so if you were reading them in order, you would not want to read them the order I did, because I actually read Rajal's Resonance before Lauren's Barbarian, which is interesting because like Rajal is in Lauren's Barbarian and he plays a really interesting role in it, and totally different vibes than in Rajal's Resonance. So I was really kind of surprised by that. So the thing that, I guess I'll back up and tell you kind of what the plots are of each book. So in our first book, that I read would be Rajal's Resonance. Rajal gets kidnapped by people who live in a different part of the island, and he gets put in a cage with this girl who is there for reasons. And they resonate, and he's all like, oh my, now she doesn't have a queen yet because she just got there. She climbed out of the coffin and ended up waking up on this ice planet going, what the heck is happening? Gets kidnapped by these aliens, and now she's resonating, and the aliens are like, clearly she has the queen sickness, so we can't let you go, and don't fall, like, it sucks she resonated, you can't love her because she's just gonna die. And he's like, well, yeah, she's gonna die, we gotta get her a queen, don't be stupid. So the whole story is basically Rajal trying to break her Rosalind out and get her a queen and get back to the regular aliens. And as this is happening, we're learning about like the people in this area of the island, why they're there, who they are, and some sci-fi and action-y fun stuff is happening. I think I ended up giving this a 5-star, although it was a low 5. I loved Rosalind. I didn't like Rajal. I liked some of the conversations that were happening because of stuff we learned. I'm trying not to do major spoilers here, because of stuff we learned about why Rosalind is there. And just, I really liked her. I didn't like Rajal. Largely, he was very like, I don't want to say it was problematic, but he was very much like, I'm going to protect her. I'm not going to tell her this thing. And there was a lot of information withholding. Now, him and her could communicate, which is important, but they couldn't communicate with the other aliens around them. All right, so then let's hop over to Lauren's Barbarian. So in Lauren's Barbarian, Lauren has been living recently with the Not Hoth guys, people, and on the beach, and a thing happens, and her and Marisol get swept out to sea. And they end up on this beach and are found by these two dudes. One is Rajal, who finds Marisol, and then the other one Lauren resonates with. I think his name's Cathar. So Lauren resonates with Cathar and they go off this way, and Rajal takes Marisol and goes this way. And even though he's not resonating, they're like, the dudes were both like, I'm gonna take her back to my clan because. So we have now a new area of Nothoth, and that's true in both books. So we have this Nothoth area, and then with Lauren, she and Kajal, she and Mr. K can't speak to each other, so they can't communicate. Now she's on Nothoth, so she with the Sakwi people, so she already knows about resonance. She understands what's happening. So that was nice. There was no confusion like, oh my gosh, what's happening? You know, there's a lot of like life confusion, like, why are we doing this? Oh wait, that's why. We got to see like this whole new area of Nothoth, which was cool. And there's a lot of like backstory and exploration, and I think both books do that so much, and I didn't love it in either of them because I am very much in this series for the romance and the smut. That's what I want. Spice and romance. And in both of these, it's a lot of, hey, here's this cool new area of the island, and all the reasons that the island exists like this, and all the things we can learn about the world. And oh, by the way, these people like each other. And I do think in Lauren's Barbarian that even got done, like overdone more than Rajal's Resonance. So like with Lauren's Barbarian, you had a lot of, this is very different than the Nothoth that we're used to. So here's cool things to learn. And Lauren and her resonance mate cannot speak to each other. Like, they don't speak the same language. So she's got to like try to teach him her language, and he's trying to teach her, and they're doing the whole we can't communicate thing. And I really hate that trope so much. And I feel like we do it a lot in Ice Planet. And I think that's maybe the other issue I'm having, is I'm coming off of a lot of this trope. And so when I saw it in Lauren's Barbarian, I was like, oh, we're doing this again. So I had recently read, of course, Ice Planet 1. We have Georgie and Vectal. They can't communicate. And then we had Harlow and Rook, and they can't communicate. And then we had Lila and I don't remember the dude's name, and they can't communicate initially. And I am so tired of this we can't communicate. I was so glad that Rajal and Rosalind could communicate, because I really didn't enjoy Lauren's book. Like Rajal and Rosalind, I was kind of like, they were like lower tier, but still I enjoyed them. Like for me, kind of similar to how I felt about book 2. Like I liked Liz and Rashawn, whatever his name is. I like Liz and her husband, but like they're not my favorites. They're not like Ahako and Kira, or Tiffany and Saluk, or Josie and Hayden. You know, I have certain couples I like, and Rajal and Rosalind were kind of more like here, and then Lauren and her husband were like down here with like Harlow's story, which was not one that I liked very much. And I ended up giving Lauren's Barbarian a 4 out of instead of a 5, because it really was not. There was just too much world building and too much action. But anyway, we have 2 different parts of the world that are shown in each book, and we have a lot of like different cultures and different people coming together and learning more about the history, which was really cool. Except that I don't necessarily care, because that's not why I'm reading these books. And if you are definitely more of like plot, sci-fi, story-based, I think you're going to really love these books. If you are just here for the romance and the smut, you may not enjoy them very much, because that's how I felt. I was like, listen, it's really cool that you have to live this way because of the predators on your islands. Could we just kiss? Like, I don't care. I don't care about the predators. I don't care about this cool bird. I don't care about this or that or this. Like, just make out. So that was kind of my general response to Lauren's Barbarian in general, is just could we stop with the plot? Could we stop with the setting? Could we just get to the smashing? And anyway, um, I did think a lot of the stuff was cool, and I think it's probably very necessary for the other books Ice Planet. With Ice Planet Home, I think it's really cool because it unlocks some different body types. So when we have the smashing, I assume there's going to be some variety in the smashing, which is awesome. Um, so we have some different body types. So the people on the island don't look the same as the people who are currently like living there. Now with Rajal's resonance, we also unlock some new people, but I would say it's on a much smaller scale. I feel like that's fair. I think there's a whole new adventure and questions and things that we're going to have to figure out from Rajal's book. But I feel like also maybe the author knew that there was a lot of stuff. So, like, she dumped some stuff on us, but there was like a big reveal. And she was like, all right, like, I'm not going to go into detail here. And again, I read these out of order. Maybe it was stuff they already knew about. But, I was like, oh, that's lovely. Let's learn more about that. So I don't know how that's going to go because I don't know what they knew already and what they didn't, and I assume we're going to learn more about the thing, but I'm glad they didn't like info dump everything in the first book. And I feel like in Lauren's Barbarian they kind of did. It was kind of like, here's these different clans, and here's this, and here's that, and here's this world, and here's this island, and here's how we survive, and it was like, oh, so much, so much. Or maybe it should have been a couple different books. Like maybe we needed to have Marisol's book. Like maybe we need to have Lauren and her Barbarian over here, and then Marisol and her Barbarian over here. I don't know. It was a lot to unpack in one book, and a lot of like action and adventure. And I didn't care. I did not care. So, that being said, I do think both add to the world. I was glad to see that we get much more of the island. I am glad that we've got some more body types and more people. It definitely, I think, I feel bad for Ruby Dixon, but like in the best of ways. I remember when I read Kira's and Hako's story, she was like, yeah, I was worried that I was only going to get to write like 3 books and was trying to like cram everything into the first 3. And now she's got like a billion. So I think she wasn't planning on this and then has this big franchise and is like, well, holy heck, how do I get more people in and resonating? And it's probably not something that she planned from the beginning. And it was something that just happened as her books became popular and her publisher was like, hey, we like money. Could you make some more of the money books? And she's like, well, I guess I like money too. So let's make more of the money books. So but it definitely has that feel. Like it didn't necessarily all feel super authentic. There was things about it that were like, okay, you just need more couples. I would have been really happy if we could have almost like time jumped, and maybe this happens because again, I'm not very far, but like I would have almost preferred if we'd have time jumped and gone back and been like, these couples that you didn't get to see, here they are. From the original, like the original people, the people that were there with Georgie, instead of everybody just kind of resonated and you get to meet 2 people. So yeah, I definitely felt like it feels like bringing in people and places and things and exploring them, and it didn't feel necessarily like the barbarian stuff that I want from these books. Typically I want the conflict to be about, we're resonating, and in the books that I love in Ice Planet Barbarians, we have like Kira's book. Kira and Tiffany are probably my absolute favorite books. And then I also really like Josie and Hayden. But like with Kira, she's infertile. She's dealing with infertility and wanting to resonate, but she knows she can't because she can't have babies, and that's how the Qui works, and it's just awful, and I love that. And then like Tiffany had some bad stuff happen on the ship, and she's worried that when she resonates, the marital expectations are not going to be something she's going to be okay with doing. And so she's trying to like prime herself to get over her trauma because this is not Hoth. And when you resonate, you make babies. It's just what you do. And you know, you don't want to be resonating and crying because of your trauma, which is fair. And I love that. I love that kind of conflict. I loved, you know, with Josie and Hayden. Josie wants to resonate so bad, and Hayden is the one person she doesn't like. And she's like, no, I ain't being with you. I don't care that I resonated with you. You're not my person. We are going to go make you not my person because this cannot be happening because you are the one person. The one person. Like, I will take the 90-year-old dude before I take you. And Hayden's like, this is how resonance works. You don't get to pick. Now we just have to make it work. And she's like, no, I ain't playing that. But, you know, I love that kind of conflict. And I think in these cases, well, the internal conflict, I think in these cases, both Rajal's Resonance and Lawrence Barbarian, there's a lot of external conflict. You know, 90% of both books is just, we're in this strange place that is not safe, and we have to get to a place that is safe by overcoming X, Y, and Z. And then in Rajal's Resonance, there's a little bit of internal conflict with some of the later reveals. But like in Lawrence Barbarians, there's almost none. It's all like just adventure type. And for me, that's not really what I'm coming to Ice Planet Barbarians for. However, like I said, I'm going to continue the series. I don't recommend reading them out of order. I think you can. I would say if you are at least at Lila's story, a couple things happen in Lila's story that is relevant to all the later stuff. So I felt a little bit confused, but I feel like I would have felt way more confused if I hadn't at least got to Lila's story and read Lila's story and Ice Planet before jumping to like the new series starters. But yeah, I think both Rajal's Resonance and Lawrence Barbarians was it made sense as a starter, but I also think that as somebody who loves Ice Planet, neither of them have like the essence of why I'm at Ice Planet. And so I could definitely see people picking them up to see if they wanted to continue the series and being like, it's a toss up. Like, I think that some people will really be lost in Lawrence Barbarian. They'll be like, oh, this is a lot of stuff. And with Rajal's Resonance, because you have that internal look later on, maybe they won't be as lost. I was definitely like somewhat motivated to continue because I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But I definitely think if you are a big Ice Planet fan, both books are going to be a little bit underwhelming if you're in it for the internal conflict, the romance, the spice. Like these two offshoot starters are not great for that. Now, if you really love Georgian Bechdel's book, these might really work for you because they've kind of got a similar vibe. Like both of them, the spice takes forever to get to because we're dealing with all the stuff. So you've got like a lot more longing, a lot more like takes forever to get there because you're like, okay, well, we've got to solve all these really big life-threatening problems before the smashing happens. So yeah, it was a mixed bag. I do plan to continue, and I love Ruby's style, and right now I just want to read like every book Ruby has ever written. But yeah, it's been interesting because I didn't love these as much as I hoped to. And I am going to continue, but not necessarily any more invested in the series than I thought I was going to be. And I'm curious to see what happens from here. So, if you have read Lawrence Barbarian and Rajal's Resonance, what did you think? Is Ice Planet Home or Ice Planet Clones? Like, if you've read both of those series as far as they are, which do you like more? What did you think? Just tell me all your Ice Planet Barbarian thoughts below. If for whatever reason you don't want to leave a comment, but you do want to support the algorithm, you can leave an emoji of a snowflake or an emoji of a spaceship or an emoji of a book, whatever you think. But please leave a comment below of one kind or another. This has been Jane, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!